Hey y'all, welcome to your Apple Update. I'm your host John Sherrod, and it's always exciting when we get to break down an Apple event. And today is one of those days because as I'm recording this episode, today Apple held its Fall 2019 event. We usually would think of this as the iPhone event, and certainly we got new iPhone models announced today, but there was a whole bunch of events today, a whole bunch of announcements today, a whole bunch of different product updates, new Apple Watch models, a new iPad, of course the new iPhone models that we mentioned before. And new services, and that's what we're going to talk a bit about today. But first, I just wanted to say I thought the event was a lot of fun. I thought there was a lot of great content. I thought the pacing was really good. I thought they kept it moving very well. Even the demos, like over my shoulder, you can see this is the section where they're demoing some of the games for Apple Arcade, and sometimes that can be the times that kind of drag the event down, and that's kind of impossible to avoid to an extent, but I think these demos were appropriate because Apple was actually showcasing some more of what you're going to expect from Apple Arcade when it launches here on September 19th, so it's coming up very quickly. So what I'm planning to do is, over the course of the next few days, have several videos out breaking down what was introduced, what was new, what this means, what we can take from this. But today I wanted to really focus on Apple Services announcement, those being Apple Arcade and Apple TV Plus. And Apple first announced these way back this past spring, but we didn't get a lot of detail other than that they were coming this fall. And now we have actual release dates for these services, and we have actual pricing for these services, and that's pretty important because my most recent video before this one that I did was all about Apple TV pricing, and it was based around a rumor that had been going out that Apple was considering charging $9.99 per month for Apple TV Plus, and I did a whole video breaking down why that makes no sense because Apple just doesn't have the content library to justify that price, especially when Disney is about to roll out Disney Plus with Disney's huge back catalog of content spanning decades worth of beloved stuff, and Apple's just breaking into this and may eventually build something impressive on their own, but you can't charge $9.99 for that. And fortunately, I don't know whether that was ever seriously discussed within Apple or if that was just rumor stuff that was from nowhere, but if that was really being discussed, I am delighted to see that Apple did not go down that road, because what we're looking at now is that Apple Arcade is going to cost users $4.99 per month, and Apple TV Plus is also going to cost $4.99 per month. $4.99 per month each for the services, just to be clear. Unfortunately, we got no word about any kind of bundle. Like, I would still love to see an Apple bundle of, well, for me, iCloud storage, Apple TV Plus, Apple Arcade, and Apple Music. I'm already on the highest tier iCloud account because I need that kind of storage for my photos. And I'm an Apple Music subscriber, and I plan to get Apple TV Plus and Apple Arcade. So, that's great for Apple because that's a lot more revenue coming towards them. And I'm grateful that they didn't charge $9.99 each for these services. But it would be great to have some kind of Apple services bundle. I mean, just imagine, a $20 or even a $25 bundle for all of this content from Apple. That would be absolutely fantastic. But for now, there was no mention of that. So we're just going to have to wait and see if something like that happens in the future. But we did get a lot of details about these services. And I'll start with Apple Arcade. So Apple Arcade is coming on September 19th, 2019. So that's coming up really fast. And that is coming, as we said, at $4.99 per month. And what you're going to get for that is your entire family, let's say up to 5 people, is going to be able to log in to your Apple Arcade account on any one of your Apple devices and play up to 100 plus games, they say. Sounds like not all of those will be available at launch, but they'll be adding more over time and presumably more and more and more beyond that. Again, they showed off demos at the event from some big game companies, Capcom and Konami, so it was cool to see that some real established game makers are invested in this platform. And these are supposedly exclusive games that you can only play on Apple Arcade. So, that's potentially Apple really making a big play for the video game space. Now, the Apple TV hardware is really good, but it's not up there to compete with, the top tier console games out there. So, but that doesn't necessarily matter. You can still make amazing games. Gameplay is ultimately more important than those other factors. And obviously, the living room is a crowded space for gaming. We've got Nintendo and Xbox and PlayStation, there's PC gaming, that sort of thing. So this is another player trying to edge its way in. But, tons and tons of people play games on Apple devices, particularly on the iPhone. And this is going to make it, potentially a way to bring even better games to the Apple platform and in a more sustainable way, because they're, I don't know how exactly Apple's divvying up this $4.99 per month revenue, but it's a way for game developers to continue to make money over time if this thing takes off well. And I think for it to take off well, Apple's got to do a couple things. They've got to continue building these relationships with these game developers, and that's going to mean making the platforms inviting for them, not making some of the mistakes they made with the Apple TV when they initially rolled out the App Store for tvOS. And then also Apple's going to have to put some serious marketing behind Apple Arcade. And I'm hoping that they do both of those things, and not just do it at the beginning, but continue doing it over time to grow this platform and make it something that we'll enjoy playing for years to come. Critically, there will not be in-app purchases in this, which is great for me. Now, you're trading that because you're paying a recurring revenue, and so if you're like me, you don't buy in-app purchases, but now you're going to shift over to paying monthly. So, but for whatever reason, to me, that feels better. I like paying for something and getting the full game and not being nickel and dimed for, extra things to help you farm or, whatever. I like to get the whole game, and that's what you'll get with Apple Arcade. So that's really cool. The webpage for it kind of implies that you can play any of these games on an iOS device, an iPadOS device, an Apple TV, or a Mac. We'll see how that works, because the game interaction model for an iPhone is very different than something designed for a physical controller. But they say you'll be able to kind of pause your game on one device and start it up on another one, so you could go from an iPhone to an Apple TV to a Mac. I'm hoping that all the games really support that, but we're going to have to see, and that's going to really affect the value proposition of this for me. Your mileage may vary. But honestly, this sounds pretty impressive, and it sounds very intriguing, and I can't wait to see, again, how game developers really respond to it and how the gaming community responds to it. And we'll find out on September 19th when that launches. There will be a whole month trial for it, so you'll have plenty of time to try it out and kind of see what it's like and see if it's worth it to continue beyond that first month. Okay, so next, Apple TV Plus, and this is something because I love Apple products and I love TV and movies, and so we're kind of combining these things together. Apple is getting into this game of making its own content and having its own streaming platform, albeit one that is only its own original content, no back catalog of stuff, at least nothing in the works that's been planned or announced so far. So again, $4.99 for Apple TV Plus, which still, if you look at it just on what you get for the penny kind of thing, you're getting way more with Disney Plus because they have that whole back catalog. But $4.99 is a cup of coffee a month, so that's a lot more inviting to consumers, I think, than $9.99 would have been. That would have been just a deal breaker for Apple TV Plus, I feel like. So $4.99 seems like the right price point if you're not going to give it away for free, and Apple's sinking billions of dollars into this content creation thing, so they're not going to do that, I guess. But they did announce, and this was a really pleasant surprise, that if you buy an Apple device, an iPad, an iPhone, an Apple TV, an Apple Watch, you're going to get a year of Apple TV Plus at no additional charge. So that's pretty awesome. So obviously don't go out and buy a device just to get this, but if you're already planning to get an Apple device, in particular, this seems like a nice value add for Apple TV sales. If you don't already have an Apple TV, you buy this and you get a year of Apple TV Plus, so that's a pretty cool combo right there. So we got that. Apple kind of took the time to recap some of the shows they've already announced. Some of them seem really interesting to me. Some of them don't seem interesting at all, but that's going to be the way it always is from any content provider coming out with their own stuff. I'm not interested in a fraction of the stuff that's on Netflix. The difference is Netflix has way more content than Apple TV Plus has initially. They also gave us a deeper look at C, this new TV show that's coming out this fall, led by Jason Momoa, who's been in a ton of stuff, Aquaman most recently. And it looked pretty intriguing. We got we'd seen some clips from it at Apple's media event this past spring, but this was the first time we saw a full trailer for it, and it honestly looked pretty interesting. A pretty interesting sci-fi genre concept for a TV show. So I'm kind of interested in seeing that. That's going to come out November 1st, so not as soon as Apple Arcade's going to be coming out. But we got a firm release date November 1st, and that will be, again, $4.99 per month, and it will have a free 7-day trial. So not the full month like with Apple Arcade, but by a new Apple device, you get that for a year. So honestly, I walked into the event kind of nervous and trepidatious about what Apple might do with Apple TV Plus, and I don't want to say negative about Apple TV Plus, but not sure it was really going to work. And I walked away from this event being a lot more confident in it, largely because of the price point. seeing that Apple wasn't going to try to charge $9.99 for this service gave me a lot of confidence that they recognize Apple TV Plus's place in the industry, and they're willing to take time to grow it slowly as they come out with new content. So I'm pretty interested to see what they come up with and what they do. And Apple Arcade, again, seemed like a real hit, so I can't wait to see how people react to that. Anyway, what did you think about these events? Are you planning to sign up for Apple TV Plus now that you know it's going to be $4.99? Are you planning to jump on board with Apple Arcade? Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Again, stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button so that you find out when new episodes come out, because I plan to have more content this week talking about some of the other big Apple products that Apple announced today. This is John Sherrod for your Apple Update.